It's not about being as strong as possible or being as flexible as possible. It's about having a good functional balance between them for what you want to do.
Exactly. Whatever you're trying to solve, you need to find the balance.
Yeah.
It's kind of the key to like what you're saying.
For a lot of guys, they might even have relatively good physiques, but they still haven't got those habits ingrained in themselves.
What made you transition or add that calisthenics strength and conditioning to the program?
I had a lot of negative lifestyle health habits. I was drinking more alcohol. I wasn't doing any exercise. And yoga really helped me become more positive in my internal state. This is how long I'm going to do this unsustainable thing for this specific reason, and then I'm going to switch back to a more sustainable, balanced approach. If I tell them, oh, you can never have a beer or a cake again, they're not going to want to do it because that's no fun.
Back with the expert series. We've got Nate here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here in Bangkok?
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you for having me here today. I first came to Bangkok backpacking in 2010. I'm from Australia. I'm half Australian, half Lebanese, and I didn't know that I'd be back again, but then I guess I've more or less been living here since 1.5 years after that, the end of 2011. I did a yoga teacher training on Koh Phangan in 2012, and then started to sort of teach yoga and wellness, getting involved with that like mid 2012. And at the time, I didn't really plan to stick around, but things started going well, and I guess I've been here since. So
I think it's a common story for a lot of people. They come for, especially to Thailand, right? You come for 3 months, 6 months, and then they end up being here 10 years later, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the early years for me were a bit challenging, so I'm surprised that I made it work, but it's been good and nothing but gratitude, really.
Yeah. And so that was 10 years ago. So why don't we fast forward a bit to kind of what you're doing now? I know you're based in Bangkok. You run an online fitness business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I guess a lot of people talk about pre-COVID, post-COVID. So pre-COVID, I was doing a lot more real-world stuff. Here in Thailand, I was running retreats. I was working with different companies, like corporate sessions. I was doing work with international schools here, NIST, Harrow, St. Andrews, and that. And then I guess through COVID, I started to see that, like you and I were talking about off camera before, it's all about making it convenient for the person who wants to learn. So I started to focus through COVID a bit more of my efforts on helping people online. Through that time, I started with online men's course called Yoga for Modern Men, which was just like yoga, meditation, and breath work for men who didn't really want to do yoga but wanted the benefit of it. And then in the past year, or I guess it was only in about July or August last year, I decided to relaunch my online coaching, but with more of a rounded, holistic approach to reflect what I've already been doing in the real world for my own training and with my clients here in Bangkok. So my online coaching now includes also the yoga, the breathwork, and meditation, which is what I specialize in and I've been teaching for over 12 years, but also calisthenics style strength training, which I've been practicing and learning from like the best coaches in the world for about 7 or 8 years now. And then I help the guys with their nutrition if they want to lose weight as well. And then there's more of like a focus on just developing like discipline and self-control, because I see that like for a lot of guys, they might even have relatively good physiques, or they might go to the gym, or they might go to classes, but they still haven't got those habits ingrained in themselves of how to like control themselves like in their weaker times and like when they don't really feel like doing stuff. So I focus a lot on that
support system kind of to help them get
through. Yeah. So it's adaptable. So I might have some guys like one, I'm not going to say names, but one of the guys who was doing the online coaching with me, he lives in Pattaya. He's a retired military veteran, and for him we more focused on just like starting his days right, because he's already a beast. He trains hard, but he just was sick of having depression, anxiety. So we're like, we're going to get your sleep right, we're going to start your days with meditation and breath work, we're going to talk and make sure like you're always in an upward spiral with the way that you think and the way that you relate to the world and yourself. And then I might have other guys, like I'll use an example of a Thai guy who lives here in Bangkok, who who owns a lot of restaurants, and he's a successful businessman here. And he was more like he's at the end of his 30s. He's like, I want to, be in a bit better health by the time I get into my 40s, so I'm not struggling. And for him, it was like, we got to develop some discipline and just get you lifting some weights and using your body. So then for him, we focus a bit less on the nutrition because I don't want to scare him away. It's like, I know he's drinking a lot and he's not eating so healthy, so we're going to focus more on just getting some good habits going and not worry about whatever else is happening. So I think from my years of experience with coaching, which is about 12 or 13 years now, when I meet someone and start to talk to them, I start to assess what's going to be the best way to help them to move from here forward without losing momentum, because that's what it's really about, is gaining momentum and not letting any obstacles make you feel like you're not doing things right or you're not going to succeed. So I'll focus it in different ways depending on what people need and want.
I want to ask you why you transitioned from doing the yoga breath work to doing S&C and nutrition as well.
That's a good question.
But so really what you're giving people now, creating your program, it's not just kind of in the gym or in the nutrition. It's about creating habits and kind of changing a lifestyle, whether it's, having issues like mentally to get going, whether physically getting moving, and kind of dieting to what's the right things they should be eating. So it's kind of like a well-rounded program, not just specializing on one or the other. And then I did want to go back to that point. What made you decide that transitioning from, obviously you're a specialist for so long, for 10 years in yoga and breath work, what made you transition or add that nutrition and kind of calisthenics, strength and conditioning to the program?
I think that's a good question. Before I answer that, I'll actually backtrack to what you were saying about the well-rounded program. So just before this, I told you I was at the sauna and the ice bath with some of my friends, and one of them was my friend Javier Trujillo, who's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he did my men's online coaching course because he's living back in America now, and he said to me, I've lost my way a little bit. He's become a dad. He's a firefighter. He's got a lot of pressure, and he said, I want to train with you again, because we used to do the yoga, breath work and meditation when he was living out here. And he did the 8-week course with me online, and at the same time he was training Muay Thai, training jiu-jitsu, coaching and that. By the end of it, he said, I feel like a well-balanced man. And I'm like, realized when he said that to me, because for me, that's what became important with my training. When he said that, I'm like, that's how I help people. I help men to create balance. And that's why I do help women in the real world here in Bangkok, but I don't advertise it because I don't profess to know what it's like to be a woman. So I want to help men.
We preach what you know and what you can relate to.
Yeah, exactly. And I know for men, especially like I'm 38 now, I know for guys, once you get over the age of, it's different age for every man, but some men, once you get over the age of 30, your priorities might have shifted. You're like, I have to balance my family life, my work life. I don't want to just be beating myself up and getting bigger for the sake of it. You want to have balance. You want to have high energy. You want to wake up in the morning without aches and pains in your body. You want to be mobile. So there's different things. And so for me, the reason that I transitioned was because I started yoga when I was very young, when I was 23. At that point, I had a lot of like negative lifestyle health habits. I was drinking more alcohol. I wasn't doing any exercise. And yoga really helped me to like become more positive in my internal state. It helped me with my body as well, with my flexibility, my movement, my balance, my stability. There's lots of things you can get from it. But actually, after doing only yoga for a few years, I started to get some minor issues because I had too much flexibility and not enough strength. And then I realized a lot of the guys who came to me before, when I was mostly teaching yoga and I had more of a yoga network in Bangkok, they were injured CrossFit athletes.
Well, this was the reverse, right? They were coming to you.
Exactly.
And you
So I only learned how to do my first pull-up when I was about 27. So that's about 10 years ago. And from there, I started to get more and more into strength training. And I realized that once I had a good balance between strength and flexibility and, stamina and all the different things you can train with your physical capabilities, we were speaking about power, isometric strength, everything. When I felt like I had the best balance, that's when I'm less likely, touch wood, and when I don't really seem to get injured. And I started to notice like it's not about being as strong as possible or being as flexible as possible. It's about having a good functional balance between them for what you want to do. So like for yourself, you're a jiu-jitsu athlete and I've helped lots of jiu-jitsu guys too. And it's like, they don't need to have necessarily 180 degrees of shoulder flexibility like someone who's going to do a handstand, for example, but they need what's going to be helpful for them to not get submitted with an arm bar or a knee bar, things like this.
There's different kind of trainings and there's different kind of methods for different, it depends on the person's purpose.
Exactly.
But whatever you're trying to solve, you need to find the balance.
Yeah.
It's kind of the key to like what you're saying.
That's it. So I just try to focus my training on the individual, sustainable habits and feeling good and like feeling good, looking good, moving good. Really.
Talking about sustainable habits. So I noticed you just said you do an 8-week course, right?
Yes.
I see people advertising 1-month courses, 3-month courses. Is there kind of like is there a reason why you choose 8 weeks? Is that how long it takes to build a habit, or what's that? I'm always being curious. Why do people have certain, like, do this course for XYZ? Does that mean after you finish it, it becomes a lifestyle?
It's a good question too.
Why would you say that you choose this?
So through the pandemic, when I had my online course, I offered 1, 2, or 3 months. Nobody really chose the 2 months, which is interesting since that's what I do now, because people would choose 1 month when they're a bit scared to commit and didn't want to spend much money. And they'd choose 3 months when they're a bit more committed. But I realized for the 3 months, it was a little bit harder for people to commit to because it is a little bit bigger. So I probably lost a few people who were like, oh, that's a bit big, and they didn't choose the 2 months. I realize now, like, I'm only going to give people one option for 8 weeks because I've seen that if it is only 1 month, we don't get quite enough momentum. So what I do when I start to work with someone new online, in the first month, I focus more on introducing the new habits, figuring out how we relate to each other, me paying attention to like their own limiting beliefs or the ways that they will fail with what they're trying to achieve. And I'm not too strict in the first month. Like, it's more like if they say, oh, I went out and had a bender last night, so I didn't do anything today, I'm not really going to be tough on them. I'm just observing these things. And then in the second month, which I actually tell them, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a bit more strict, but it's not just me saying this is how we do it. It's us having an honest conversation about who they really are, what they're really capable of achieving, what they want to achieve, and then deciding out what's going to be a sustainable routine long term, and then sort of setting that in place for a month where I don't want them to feel like they've failed in that month. So there will be certain habits that I work on helping people to implement that they're going to be able to show up for and do, even if they've had 1 hour sleep.
And also you want people to have a system where people can maintain it, right?
That's
Because
the point.
I'm sure you get a lot of people that, kind of, I think they call it crash dieting or crash, anything crash basically to achieve their goal. Where they might, for the first 2 to 4 weeks, diet really well, work out really well, and then they might kind of drop their weight or reduce their body fat, whatever their goal is. They might see a significant decline or increase in what they're trying to achieve, and then all of a sudden they kind of stop with, I can do it now myself. Where that's probably the most important part, is to keep going. And stick onto the program and kind of build it into like a more of a routine.
I'm not against those sort of things. Like, today is the third day because, as I told you, I just got back from Australia that I'm walking. I walked 20,000 steps yesterday and the day before, and I had only minimal carbs, a little bit of fruit, because I came back from Australia a little bit heavier after Christmas, drinking more beer, eating more dessert. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this for 3 days because like I could do it for 7 days, whatever. Length of time is not important. But what I think is important is that you get clear on, this is how long I'm going to do this unsustainable thing for this specific reason, and then I'm going to switch back to a more sustainable, balanced approach. So I think it's okay to do these things if you know that it's temporary.
Because you do have to indulge sometimes, right? You can't always stick to like I already said before, but I think you don't want to stick to the same diet all year round. You have to have the times where you enjoy yourself as well, have those social aspects.
Yeah, that's part of life. And as I was saying, like, a lot of the guys I help who are over the age of 30, like, they don't care about becoming physique models, so it's like, if I tell them, oh, you can never have a beer or a cake again, they're not going to want to do it because that's no fun.
What do you find, like, from your clients, what do you find the most optimal kind of physique or optimal kind of results people want to achieve?
Actually, a lot of the guys who I help, they don't care as much about their like their body fat percentage. They want to sort of feel like they look good in the mirror. They want to feel kind of strong. They want to often be able to do certain things with their body, like, 10 pull-ups or a handstand or a bunch of push-ups, or they just want to do their martial arts and feel like they're not going to hurt their elbow or their knee. So that's when we'll focus more on the flexibility. A lot of the guys I work with, they just want to wake up and feel like they're not in an old man's body, but they're in like a young, athletic sort of body. They want to have good energy throughout the day. So these are like the main common things that I notice guys care about.
Yeah.
I think it's good when you set certain targets, like to get to this body weight or to be able to do this
small
amount
goals
of
right
weight.
along the way.
Yeah, they make it fun, but like I always try to bring people's focus back to the big picture of like who they really want to be in 5 years, because you probably know as well as I do, anything you achieve or master in the gym or in training, once you've done it, you're sort of like, okay, what am I going to do next? So it's more just about the discipline and the willpower that you use to get to that goal.
It's good to constantly have more goals along the way to help you achieve, and then once you achieve that goal, you have another goal in place first, because you want to keep yourself personally motivated as well,
right?
Exactly. I know you seem to have like a very natural, holistic approach to many things. In regards to supplements and vitamins, do you take any yourself? Would you have any views on them? Maybe you could share kind of what you would take on a daily basis if you take anything, and why?
Yeah, so my views on supplements, they are fantastic. But if anybody starts speaking to me about them before they've got the 3 big things locked in with their health, then I'll say probably try and focus a little bit on these first. If they're having trouble locking the big 3 in, which I'll get to in a second, there can be certain supplements that will help with those things too. So I think first people have to get their sleep right. But in order to get sleep right, some people do need certain supplements. Secondly, and thirdly, on kind of equal level should be your nutrition and your training. I think nutrition is slightly more important to get pretty right than training, but both similar. And then after that, when you sort of feel like you're getting those 3 on track, then I think supplements can really, really help what you're doing. For myself, let's start in the morning. Like usually first thing in the morning, my thing is to drink water and put some salt in it. I have apple cider vinegar. They're not really supplements, but I use them. The first
Why do you take apple cider vinegar?
I feel better when I take it. Like I know there's no scientific evidence proven by it, but if you talk to anyone who uses it daily, they'll all tell you, when I have it, I just feel better. It supposedly helps your digestion, helps your immune system health. When I drink it, I just feel like my stomach says thank you.
I take a ginger shot every morning.
I have that too. I love ginger shot. Yeah, my girlfriend makes them for me.
For digestion.
They're perfect. And when you have the ginger shot, you feel like, it gives
it's almost like a tequila shot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A morning tequila.
Yeah. So then in the morning with that, I also have the NMN supplement.
Yeah, an NMN,
Yep. And that's the first capsule supplement I'll take. And then I guess a bit later, I'll probably an hour or so later, I might have a coffee. Caffeine can be considered a supplement, I suppose, in different forms. If people take a pre-workout or something.
Do you take protein or pre-workouts?
I don't really use pre-workout at the moment, but I used to, and I think it's good, but I usually just have a coffee. Do use protein supplements. Like I even had a whey protein earlier today because I finished at the sauna and I'm like, I haven't eaten for a few hours. I need something.
Is that because you want to get your certain grams of proteins up, or?
That's part of it. I do have a daily target that I try to hit, but it was also like I felt a little bit hungry, but I didn't want to eat something too heavy before coming here. And I just like whey protein. Like a lot of people who do fitness stuff will be kind of like, no, you don't need that, stay away from it. And then there'll be people who are like, yes, you have to have it every day. Like for me, I think if you like it, use it. I like it. It tastes good.
Do you mix it with water?
That time, I just bought one from 7-Eleven today, but at home, when I mix it, I buy the one from Fitway and I mix it with creatine and sometimes collagen as well. So they're other supplements I have, but that's usually for my lunch. I have a whey protein. For my breakfast, I'll backtrack to the supplements I have there. I always eat eggs every single morning for breakfast. I love eggs. I think they're the best multivitamin on the planet. And then with them, I also have fish oil and I have a capsule which has like turmeric, black pepper, ginger, and garlic.
Yeah.
And then with the whey protein and creatine is the next thing. And then I don't have any supplements really with dinner. And the end of the day, the supplements I have for bedtime is magnesium glycinate, glycine, and ashwagandha.
And why do you take those at nighttime? Do they help you sleep or?
So I've been taking ashwagandha since my first yoga teacher training in 2012 because my teacher was a Vedic astrologer and a herb medicine doctor. So he got me onto that. In India, they call ashwagandha strength of a horse. Yeah. And it's like a supplement that men take to help to manage stress and keep you in a strong state. Yeah. The reason I take it at nighttime is because I've taken it in morning and taken it at night. And I noticed that it helps with relaxation in the evening. It's an adaptogen, so it just helps your nervous system to handle stress. So when I have that mixed with the magnesium glycinate, which is many people believe like the best type of magnesium for relaxation and muscle recovery, and also the glycine, which is an amino acid which also helps with the muscle recovery. When I have those together, I feel like it's a good combo to help me to get into a good deep sleep. Yeah. I don't necessarily think they're essential, but for me, I feel that I do sleep better when I have them. So it's like, this is the tricky thing with supplements, is knowing if once you start to get some positive results or you feel like something's helping, it's hard to know if it is really helping or if you just believe, because both things are good. Like, and I guess you clearly actually have quite a big stack that you take daily. How would you find out about new products? Like, where's your trusted source? Do you kind of go to friends? Do you do your own research? How do you decide what you're going to take and why, or for what purpose? Yeah, there's a variety of things. I have friends who I'll talk to about these things. I'll give a name drop to one of my friends in Thailand who's helped me a lot, and he deserves some public credit, Mark Abbott, he's a friend who I can always call and chat to about certain things because I know he reads more medical papers than anyone. And then I have certain YouTube channels that I follow. And then I guess like over the years, because I've been using supplements for 12 or 13 years, I have certain things that I know, like, okay, they've done like creatine, there's all these studies on them. I know that this definitely works. I don't need to listen to any new information about it. I've used it enough on my own, and I've stopped using it and seen how I feel when I don't use it. So then like I don't necessarily
That's the number one thing we've heard, is that actually word of mouth, hearing from someone that, trusted source is the number one place for people to get kind of that advice or guidance on what supplements and vitamins to be taking. Because a lot of the times people, they'll hear from someone, and then they'll look at that person as aspirational. Someone probably like yourself, if you were to tell me like, Charlie, you should be taking this, it's probably something I'll take a serious think about and look at it, is that should be something that I would want to take. Yeah,
I think that also there's different supplements that like you'll notice more now, day to day, when you take them, like the magnesium glycinate, you may notice when you have it, you feel more relaxed, you go into a deeper sleep. And then there's fish oil, or as I said, apple cider vinegar, not necessarily a supplement, but with these things, you might not really notice too much. But if you don't take them, you might sort of feel like, maybe something was missing, or it might just be like in 1 or 2 years, if you haven't taken it, you might notice things. So I think, or NMN, that's another one, because that's more of like preventing cell breakdown and damage.
That one's very popular right now.
Yeah. And I don't really know if I notice anything from it, but I did actually see, like with what I felt, but I did actually see something in my blood work, because I go to get my blood checked every 6 months. Yeah. And I had a lower white blood count because I must have had some infection in my stomach that I didn't even know about. Like I didn't get sick at any point, but when I went for my blood test, that was down, and I was like, oh, why is that lower than last time? And the doctor's just like, oh, you might have had some infection you didn't know about, your body fought it off, no problem.
Do you check your blood work often?
Well, roughly every 6 months. And then with that, the weird thing was, because I care about getting my blood right, so I started doing certain things to try to correct or bring back up my white blood count. This was for about 5 or 6 months. It didn't come back up, but I felt fine. I was just like, okay, no problem. And then when I started taking NMN, the next time I went for a blood test, it was just back up. So I was like, that was the only thing that I really
the only thing you
changed.
Adjusted in your...
It may have also been just that over time my body just repaired it, but it could have been something. So I think there's supplements we don't really know what effect they'll have, and we just have to trust the experts and what the science has told us.
That's probably a good method to have, is actually by doing a test of blood work. Then after that, maybe taking a different stack of supplements or vitamins to see that, and then do the test again in 6 months and see how the results have been affected.
I think it's definitely a good idea. Like for certain people, if they have an issue that they're struggling with, like, or they know that they would be possibly deficient in something because of their diet, they could just start taking a supplement, but it's a really good way to do blood tests and see, and then start taking it and then see again. A lot of people won't bother that, but if you're a bit of a nerd on health and fitness like me, then it's a fun way to see like if something is really working or not.
And I guess like just obviously the new year just started.
Yep.
That's some great insights. But what's kind of, do you have any kind of plans or goals or anything that you want to achieve for this year with your health and wellness personally?
Personally, you know, I have certain goals with my strength training because that's how I like to challenge myself. I'll say them actually. I guess I'm working towards a one arm.
Hold you accountable.
I mean, it's not about that. I just thought I'm getting off topic talking about myself too much. But I guess I'm trying to work towards a one arm chin up. I'm trying to work towards a handstand push up. And
so this is all calisthenic stuff.
More calisthenics, and then weighted pistol squats. I'm already doing them, but just trying to get stronger and heavier. I'm trying to get 10 ring muscle ups. So my best is 9 so far. So I'm pretty close there. But they're kind of some goals that just keep me interested in my training. Apart from that, with like my own health and wellness, it's just like, you know, living a balanced and healthy life, waking up with energy, feeling good.
So I just want to jump in there. So you say a balance, right? Do you find that you have your balance now, or you find that you're constantly retuning it and refining it and changing it to kind of adjust?
Just minor tweaks now. And like even on this past month in Australia, I worked out that I had 30 beers and 10 red wines roughly in a month, which is a lot of alcohol for me to consume. If I'm in Bangkok in 1 month, I'll usually have 3 or 4 beers maximum. 1 or 2 nights out with friends, 1 or 2 beers. But, you know, holidays in Australia, I drink more. But when I've come back, like today, this morning, I weighed myself and my weight's almost the same as it was before I went. So I think like my balance is pretty good now, because while I was there, even though I was overdoing it there, I was walking more and I was training more, and some of the meals in the morning, I might have been eating a bit less just to keep the balance overall. So I think my balance is pretty good, but I'm always open to learning more and tweaking things if I notice anywhere that needs adjusting. Back onto your question about this year. So not necessarily personally, but I also really want to this year try to focus a bit more on doing some more real world events here in Bangkok again, because I used to host a lot of retreats and public sort of sessions. I think I reflected on the last 2 years, and I think I've been slacking on networking a little bit. So
Bangkok's an easy place to network, because it's very transient, and there's people moving here all the time.
I did it better before, and then I think I've become lazy because I have a good network, I have a good circle of friends, I have a beautiful girlfriend, and I'm happy I don't have to go out. But I'm like, I got to get back out into the world and meet people here. So that's something that's a bit of a goal relevant to my health and wellness this year too.
What kind of retreats do you like to do?
So I used to have a business called Digital Detox Asia with my friend John Bailey. I don't know if you know him. He lives in Chiang Mai now. He's the founder of Bloom, the online cannabis store, and he now has a medicinal mushroom business called Earth Story. Maybe I'll connect you in case you want to.
I think Earth Story I know.
So he's the founder of that. So him and I used to have a project together where we hosted retreats, mostly in Khao Yai and Rayong. And we did a lot of retreats for adults who were expats and Thais living in Thailand. But then we also helped the international schools, and we ran teenager retreats where it would be technology free. So I think like something that I like with retreats is having at least some component of it being device free, giving people a chance to get away from the screens when you're out in nature, just connect more with people, focus on the world inside yourself, focus on your body, focus on your daily habits of eating and moving around. So I have a few plans for the retreats. I've been talking with one of my friends. I'll mention it because it may happen. Toby Smith is a 4-time world Muay Thai champion. He lives in Thailand, and we're talking about hosting a retreat together. So not too sure. That may or may not happen. I have a few ideas, but when I do retreats, it's just about getting a group of people together who want to focus on their health and wellness and becoming the better versions of themselves, and, you know, give them a good positive experience and help to instill some motivation and habits that they can take back to their daily lives, because that's really where the constant transformation will happen for them.
Oh, nice. That sounds really interesting. Thanks for coming, and we'll hope to hear more about what's going on in your year, and maybe you'll catch me at one of your retreats.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me today.
Thanks.